Let's try out example number 2 now. In example number 2, a is not equal to 1. Suddenly things get a little bit trickier. We're still factoring trinomials, but since the a isn't equal to 1, we have to change things up just a little bit. Just a little bit. So once again it says factor if possible. And we have 3x squared plus 8x plus 4. So we're going to go and do that same thing that we've been doing so far. So we've got 3x squared. Oops. Wow, that's not how you write a 3. So we have 3x squared plus 8x plus 4. So this is our a. Our a is now equal to 3. This is still our b, and this is our c. The first thing we want to do is see if we can just take out a greatest common factor. If there's something we can divide everything by. But it turns out that no, there is nothing. There's no number that can divide 3, 4, and 8. Just 1. So we have to leave it as it is. And the next thing is we need to find our factors. However, we don't just find our factors of c. So we don't want to find our factors of 4. No. Because it turns out that we weren't actually finding the factors of c. We were finding the factors of a times c. It just turned out that before our a was equal to 1. And so 1 times anything is just that anything. So 1 times c was always c. Now we have, in this case, 3 times 4. So we have the factors of 3 times 4. Or the factors of 12. And it turns out that's going to be one of our factors. So we need to find our factors. Our b is positive, our c is positive, so we only have to worry about our positive factors. Our factors of 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. There we go. And then we need to find, I guess we can do the product, or we'll do the same order we did. So the sum and the product. So then we make our little table. And the product of these is always 12. 12, 12, 12. And then we add them together. So 1 plus 12 is equal to 13. 2 plus 6 is equal to 8. 3 plus 4 is equal to 7. We still want our addition to equal to our b. And it turns out that this middle one is equal to our b here. Bam. B. So that means that 2 and 6 are my mystery numbers. But I'm not totally done yet. Because I now have to find a way to make my mystery numbers go together. So, what I mean by that is that I have to actually rewrite my original equation with my 2 and my 6 replacing my 8. So this is how I'm going to do it. So I now have my mystery numbers, and I will say 3x squared plus 8x plus 4, I'm just going to rewrite that at first, is equal to 3x squared plus bracket 2 plus 6x plus 4, which is the same, if I multiply out my bracket now, as 3x squared plus 2x plus 6x plus 4. Now I have to do just what I did in my earlier factoring examples. So I have this. I now have to group them together. So I'll look at my first two together and my last two together and take out the greatest common factor. So the greatest common factor, the first one is just plain old x. So I have x times 3x plus 2. And then my greatest common factor in the second one here is 2. So x plus 2 times 3x plus 2. which is the same, if you remember our rules or what we did last time, as x plus 2. So I put this one plus that one multiplied by 3x plus 2, which is my answer. Though by convention, usually we have the biggest number first. So we would usually write this as 3x plus 2 multiplied by x plus 2. Another way to think about this, if you remember, is in this here, 3x plus 2 is my greatest common factor. So I can pull it out. And x times 3x plus 2 divided by 3x plus 2 is just x. And 2 times 3x plus 2 divided by x plus 2, 3x plus 2 is just 2. However you do it, this is going to be your final answer. 3x plus 2 times x plus 2. And that's it for the first one there. For my second, my 2b here, I have the 6x squared minus 5xy plus y squared. I avoided it in example 1, but I think we probably should deal with these y's here. So we will be dealing it with this second example here. So the second example, once again, I'm going to just rewrite what we had. So 6x squared minus 5xy plus y squared. And this is my A, this is my B, this is my C. I'm going to look for a common factor, but there is no common factor that I can divide 6x squared and negative 5xy and positive y squared by to get anything different. So we're just going to leave it at that. So I need two numbers that add up to be my b, my negative 5, and multiply together to be my a times c, or 6 times 1, or 6. So I'm looking for factors of 6. Now, if we look here, they multiply to be positive, but add together to be negative. So I'm actually looking for the negative factors of 6, not the positive factors of 6. So my negative factors of 6 are negative 1 and negative 6 and negative 2, negative 3. And I will put my plus and my multiplication sign. There we go. Make sure they still are multiplying to be 6. Here I go. So I have negative 1 plus negative 6. That gives me negative 7. And negative 2 plus negative 3, that gives me negative 5. I'm looking for negative 5. So that's the one I'm going to take. I'm then going to rewrite my equation, putting my negative 5 in with these guys. So this is the same as 6x squared plus negative 2 plus negative 3 xy plus y squared, which is the same, if I write it out again, as 6x squared plus negative 2 times xy gives me negative 2xy plus negative 3xy plus y squared. Sorry, my square got cut off a little bit there. Squared. So that's my second step, rewriting in my two magic numbers of my factor. My third step now is going to be grouping. So I want to group these two together and these two together and take out a common factor. So from the first one, I have 6x squared plus negative 2xy. It's usually a good idea to factor out your negatives. So I'm going to look at my numbers first. I can take negative 2 out of both of these. And then with their variables, I have an x squared and an xy. I can take an x out of both of these. So for the first one, I'll factor out negative 2x. 6 divided by negative 2x gives me, or 6x squared divided by negative 2x gives me negative 3x. And 2xy divided by negative 2x gives me positive y. I'll then do the same with the other one. So the other one, I can take out just a y. I can take out a y. So plus, I'll factor out a y. Negative 3xy divided by y gives me negative 3x. And Y squared divided by y gives me a y. Good. As long as these two things are the same, which they should be, assuming it factors properly, you're good. You're golden. So I can once again factor out that right there to get out my common factor. So that is the same as negative 3x plus y multiplied by negative 2x plus y. And that's going to be my answer. I could also rewrite this. They kind of they have the opposite. So when you have negatives, you can rewrite it. If I factor out negative 1 from both of these, so that's the same as negative 1 times positive 3x minus y times, if I factor out negative 1 from this one, positive 2x minus y, and negative 1 times negative 1 is equal to positive 1, so this one up here is exactly the same as 3x minus y times 2x minus y. You can completely flip the signs if you have two of them. Either of these are correct answers. It's a little confusing, but it's totally legitimate. So there's your option. Two answers to choose from, but same idea. So we want to find our mystery numbers, replace them in our original equation, factor them out, or like expand it out, find our greatest common factor, and simplify. So it's a long process when a is not equal to 1, but it can be done. For c now, we have 3x squared plus 2x plus 4. So let's do that one. Once again, I'm going to write it. So 3x squared plus 2x plus 4, a, b, c. So I'm going to be looking for two numbers that multiply together to be a times c, which is 12. So ac is equal to 12, and add together to be 2. I'm going to tell you right now that's going to be tricky. But let's just double check. So factors of 12, and since they're both positive here, I know that I'm looking for positive factors. So 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Add, multiply. These are all going to multiply to 12. Add. 1 plus 12 is 13. 2 plus 6 is equal to 8. 3 plus 4 is equal to 7. None of them are equal to 2. So for C, I am unable to factor. I don't know how to factor this. Once again, it can be done, but that is beyond your learning right now. So just know you might encounter things that you can't actually do. Even if it's possible to do, you yourself will not yet have the skills necessary to do it. Finally, for example, number 2, we have D here, 24x squared minus 30x minus 9. And I forgot to actually take out the common factor in the first one, or the previous one, but that really doesn't matter at all. It doesn't change the fact that I cannot factor it, because I couldn't take anything out at all. But this one I definitely can, because I have 24x squared minus 30x minus 9. If you look at it, all of those numbers, all of those constants, my a, my b, and my c, are all divisible by 3. So this is the same as 3 times 8x squared minus 10x minus 3. So I am looking for two numbers here So this is going to be my new A. This is going to be my new B. This is going to be my new C. I'm going to leave that 3 out of there. So I'm looking for two numbers that multiply. So AC is equal to 8 times negative 3, so negative 24, and add together to be negative 10. So I'm going to look for my factors of negative 24. So this is going to be a pretty big one. This might take a bit. So we have positive 1, negative 24. Negative 1, positive 24. Positive 2, negative 12, positive 12. Or sorry, I'll go the same order. What am I doing? Changing it up all of a sudden. Negative 2, positive 12. Positive 3, negative 8. Negative 3, positive 8. Positive 4, negative 6. Negative 4, positive 6. So barely any room at the bottom there. And these guys, of course, all are going to multiply together to be negative 24. Etc., 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 etc. We are more interested in how they add together. So we have 1 plus negative 24. That's going to be negative 23. The opposite, negative 1 plus 24, is positive 23. 12 plus negative 2 plus negative 12 gives me negative 10. Negative 2 plus 12 gives me positive 10. Wait, we can stop right here. Boom, we found it. We found our two mystery numbers. So our two mystery numbers are positive 2 and negative 12, which means that this is the same as 3 times 8x squared minus, or sorry, plus, I'm going to write it this way, plus 2 minus 12 times 2 plus negative 12 times x minus 3, which is going to be the same as 3 times 8x squared plus 2x minus 12x minus 3. I'm now ready to group them together. So once again, I'm going to group these guys together and these guys together. So this is the same as 3, and I'm going to use a big curly bracket now. 3 times, well, I have 8x squared and 2x. I can take 2x out of both of those. So 2x, factor out 2x. 8x squared divided by 2x gives me 4x, plus 2x divided by 2x just gives me a plain old 1. And then I have negative 12x and negative 3. I can factor out a negative 3. So I will say plus negative 3. Negative 12x divided by negative 3 gives me positive 4x. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 gives me positive 1. So this is the same as 3 multiplied by 4x plus 1 multiplied by 2x minus 3. I can drop my big brackets there. So that's 3, 4x plus 1, 2x minus 3. So this one actually has 3 separate factors. I have these 3 right here. I have 3 is a possible factor, 4x plus 1 is a possible factor, and 2x minus 3 is a possible factor. And later on, you'll find out what these factors are actually used for. So that there is example number 2.